What's going on, guys? This your boy John the Liquidator coming back with another video. Look like Stephanie White is turning heads after making some strong comments about Caitlin Clark. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Indy. Let's get it. Let's go. Everybody's having a great day today, man. Shout out to everybody that show love to the new channel. If you guys don't know, I launched a new channel today. You can find it in the post section of our channel. With that being said, Stephanie White, man, look like she's planning on going on another media run. I don't know if it's gonna help bring the hype.
All right, so get this. The internet absolutely exploded. We're talking a digital wildfire that swept across social media like nothing we've seen before, all sparked by what many fans considered a series of utterly savage, career-ending comments. The initial whispers were shocking. "She's the devil," some screamed, intentionally sabotaging her career. Others fired back with indignation, demanding, "How dare she imply Caitlin Clark still has things to work on?" This wasn't just a handful of unhappy fans. People were incandescent with rage, their fury palpable through every tweet and post. They were openly accusing a prominent figure, someone in a position of power, of actively dismantling the most exciting phenomenon women's basketball had ever seen, Caitlin Clark herself. The controversy wasn't just a minor ripple in the pond, it was a colossal tidal wave, threatening to completely drown reputations and fundamentally reshape the entire narrative surrounding the sport's biggest star. This was far more than just a bad take or a controversial opinion. It was seen as a direct, calculated attack, fueling an unprecedented level of fan fury that honestly shows absolutely no signs of quieting down.
With that being said, Stephanie White, man, look like she's planning on going on another media run. I don't know if it's gonna help bring the hype back. I feel like Stephanie White is the biggest contributor to killing Caitlin Clark hype. See, what people don't want to admit is that Caitlin Clark was single-handedly the force behind the whole women's basketball genre. If Caitlin Clark died, the whole genre dies. And that is what has been happening. Caitlin Clark hype has diminished. It's starting to come back some. I give y'all that. It's starting to come back some, but it's not where it was, or it's not where it needed to be to hold a steady line going into the start of the season. Now, we do know the 2020.
Now, let's talk about the figure at the very center of the swirling maelstrom, this absolute hurricane of criticism. It's none other than Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever. She finds herself facing an onslaught of criticism so incredibly intense and widespread that it has become a viral sensation, spreading far beyond traditional sports circles. The prevailing sentiment among a significant and very vocal portion of the fan base, a feeling that's been powerfully echoed by prominent voices in the sports commentary world, like John a Liquid, is that Coach White is single-handedly responsible for effectively killing the Caitlin Clark hype. And trust me, this isn't just about a few misplaced words or a comment taken out of context. This is about deeply perceived strategic missteps on the court and a series of public statements that, in the collective eyes of an enraged and emotionally invested audience, have crossed an unforgivable line. It's ignited a firestorm of controversy that absolutely refuses to be contained. And let me tell you, it now seriously threatens to define her entire legacy in the sport.
Y'all should know how I feel about Stephanie White. I'm not the biggest fan of her. Her taking Caitlin Clark off the ball, ultimately, I feel like damaged her in a way. This is what she said. This is the clip right here that is going viral. I believe the interview was tomorrow. Yeah, it is.
You know, with Caitlin, you know she's a hard worker because of what she's been able to accomplish. But until you see that there's no wasted movements, no wasted reps, no wasted anything, you just have such a level of respect for how she goes about her work every day. And understanding the spotlight that she's on, understanding the weight that she carries because of who she is. And like, she's literally like Taylor Swift 2.0.
So, where did this all begin? The initial spark, the tiny ember that ignited this massive inferno, came from a recent media appearance. During this appearance, Coach White was discussing Caitlin Clark's undeniably incredible work ethic. You know, something you'd think would be universally praised. Yet, in the supercharged atmosphere surrounding Clark, these seemingly innocuous remarks, these perfectly reasonable observations about even a superstar athlete having things to refine, were mercilessly twisted, brutally dissected, and ultimately weaponized by an audience that was already, for whatever reason, convinced of a darker, more insidious agenda at play. It's truly fascinating and quite alarming how easily praise in this environment could be transformed almost instantly into perceived sabotage. It's like fans were actively looking for reasons to be angry, and anything even slightly less than effusive, unconditional adoration was seen as a slight.
I talked about this with my wife earlier, and we talked about the whole Caitlin Clark saga, the whole Caitlin Clark mania, of it all. And her question to me was that, do you think Caitlin Clark wanted all of this? And I really had to sit down for a second and think about everything that transpired from her leaving Iowa until now. And my question to her was that I don't know, and I really don't think she did. I don't think Caitlin Clark ever wanted all the attention that she got. I don't think Caitlin Clark ever wanted people making videos about her. I don't think her family wanted any of the madness that came with all of this publicity. I truly think Caitlin Clark.
But for a huge segment of the fan base, especially for outspoken content creators like the aforementioned Jonna Liquid, Coach White's words weren't just a slip of the tongue or a poor choice of phrasing. No, for them, her comments were a clear symptom of a much larger, more systemic problem. Liquid, in particular, argues with vehement passion that White's actual coaching decisions, and he zeroes in on one specific, highly criticized move, taking Caitlin Clark off the ball, have been profoundly detrimental. He asserts that these decisions have directly contributed to the player's struggles on the court, and by a powerful extension, to a perceived decline in the broader excitement surrounding women's basketball as a whole. He's not mincing words here. Liquid is flat out suggesting that White's chosen strategy has actively undermined Clark's natural, explosive talent, effectively stifling her unique impact and cooling down the absolutely explosive fervor she ignited in the league. This, he argues, has created an environment where even seemingly positive observations from White are now viewed with deep suspicion and outright hostility by the dedicated fan base.
Like Stephanie White said, like Caitlin Clark gotta realize she's the talent. You run the show. Most of the time, the highest paid player on a basketball team is not the coach, it's the superstar player. Caitlin Clark is going to be that for the Indiana Fever as long as she's there, once this whole rookie thing and the CBA thing get done. And my thing is, for Stephanie White, got to look at herself in the mirror to know that you kind of, bruh, pissed the people off with this whole Caitlin Clark thing. She definitely did.
The core of the argument against Coach White, as articulated so strikingly and directly by Liquid, is absolutely startling in its boldness. His unwavering declaration is that Stephanie White is the biggest contributor to killing Caitlin Clark hype. Now think about that for a second. This isn't some nuanced critique, a gentle suggestion for improvement. This is a bold, almost audacious accusation that unequivocally positions White as the antagonist in the compelling narrative of women's basketball's biggest, most electrifying star. For Liquid, there's no doubt, Clark was the singular, unmatched force, quite literally the single-handedly whole women's basketball engine, driving all the newfound attention and excitement. And, in his view, any diminished visibility or perceived effectiveness on Clark's part is directly, undeniably attributable to the specific choices made by her coach. This is a seriously high-stakes claim, one that puts Stephanie White squarely in the crosshairs of public opinion, forcing her to bear the immense weight of an entire sport's perceived momentum and future growth.
In the mirror, to know that you kinda, bruh, pissed the people off with this whole Caitlin Clark thing. She definitely did. I don't think Stephanie White was helpful to Caitlin. Now, granted, was she's a decent coach, good enough to, get this thing where it needed to be, get over the hump? Yes, she was. But do I believe she helped Caitlin Clark? No, she did not help Caitlin Clark. She hurt Caitlin Clark in a major way. I believe Stephanie White single-handedly hurt the Caitlin Clark genre. And not only did she hurt the Caitlin Clark genre, she hurt.
And speaking of those choices, one decision, in particular, has become an absolute lightning rod for criticism. The highly contentious move to take Caitlin Clark off the ball. Fans and seasoned analysts alike immediately began to question, with significant bewilderment. Why the player, renowned globally for her visionary passing, her incredible court awareness, and her absolutely jaw-dropping long-range shooting prowess, would ever be positioned away from her natural, innate playmaking role. Jonna Liquid, hitting this point with emphatic conviction, didn't hesitate to state her taking Caitlin Clark off the ball. Ultimately, I feel like DMing it's her in a way. This specific tactical choice ignited a fierce, passionate debate across every platform, with countless individuals believing it directly stifled Clark's truly unique offensive capabilities and fundamentally prevented her from fully impacting the game in the way everyone expected. Consequently, this perceived misstep was seen as directly dampening the overall excitement she brought to the league and its burgeoning fan base, exacerbating what was already a very tense, highly scrutinized situation.
Help Caitlin Clark? No, she did not help Caitlin Clark. She hurt Caitlin Clark in a major way. I believe Stephanie White single-handedly hurt the Caitlin Clark genre. And not only did she hurt the Caitlin Clark genre, she hurt women's basketball genre in a whole and not even know what she did. I'm telling you guys, man, I've been paying attention. I will keep saying this over and over and over again until you guys, as the audience, pay attention to what is happening around us. This is somebody that has been doing YouTube for 4 years, bro. I have reached 80 million views without ever buying a view, without ever buying a subscriber, with just pure talent. I've never seen what's happening with women's basketball.
Adding yet another complex and really intriguing layer to this sprawling narrative, Jonna Liquid even speculates that Caitlin Clark herself never truly desired the overwhelming, almost suffocating spotlight that completely engulfed her. He suggests quite thoughtfully, "I don't think Caitlin Clark ever wanted all the attention that she got. I truly think she was just a small-town chick that loved the game of basketball and wanted to play basketball." Now, this perspective is incredibly powerful because it reframes Clark not as some fame-seeking superstar, but rather as a pure athlete, almost innocently thrust into an unprecedented media circus that she may not have fully embraced or even wanted. In Liquid's view, this makes her potentially much more vulnerable to the relentless external pressures and, critically, to the strategic missteps that subsequently followed. This vulnerability, this idea that she was just along for the ride, only serves to further intensify the already scorching criticism aimed at Coach White's management of her superstar player.
Making her work on it. She injured herself by working last year. Stephanie White is the devil and is intentionally sabotaging her. Did you know she had a bad record at Vanderbilt? Outrage. I am doing this right now. Somebody said, think you're lacking just a bit. The outrage need more caps to really set the tone. Actually fair. One reply says, I do appreciate the laugh though. If you play the video back where she actually says she hates Caitlin Clark and wants her to die. Oh, are you secretly Venom?
Now, while acknowledging Clark's truly enormous financial gains that undeniably came from this sudden, explosive popularity, Liquid still poses a critical, almost heartbreaking question. Did she, perhaps, allow herself to be run around by Vivek's external forces within the sport? He contends, with palpable frustration, do I feel as if Caitlin Clark let people kind of run her around and say whatever to her and take her off the ball and put this muscle on and do this, do that? Do I feel like that contributed to a bunch? Yes, that definitely did. This isn't just an idle thought, it implies a significant loss of agency for Clark, suggesting that external influences, including critical coaching decisions, may have inadvertently detracted from her true, unbridled potential. And let me tell you, that sentiment, that she was somehow manipulated, only further fuels the outrage at those perceived to be leading her astray. The prevailing sentiment among that vocal segment of the fan base is crystal clear. Stephanie White actively, almost intentionally, pissed the people off with her handling of Caitlin Clark. Liquid asserts this vehemently, declaring, "You kind of bro pissed the people off with this whole Caitlin Clark thing. She definitely did. I don't think Stephanie White was helpful to Caitlin. This isn't just a critique of strategy. This is a direct, blunt accusation that paints White not merely as a strategist with differing views, but as someone whose actions directly alienated the very audience that was driving the sport's unprecedented renewed interest, creating an undeniably deep rift between the team's leadership and a passionately engaged fan base." And the fallout, according to Liquid, extends far beyond just one player, however important she is. He argues with a staggering level of conviction that Stephanie White's decisions have not only hurt Caitlin Clark in a major quantifiable way, but have also single-handedly hurt the entire Caitlin Clark genre. And even more broadly, he claims it has hurt women's basketball genre in a whole. This is a truly staggering claim, suggesting that White's perceived mishandling of what is arguably the sport's most important and valuable asset has inflicted widespread damage on the entire ecosystem of women's basketball, potentially squandering a generational opportunity for growth, mainstream appeal, and unprecedented visibility. It's a truly savage critique, one that carries profound, long-term implications for the league's future trajectory. This outrage, as you might imagine, reached an absolute fever pitch, with direct, unvarnished attacks on White's character, and even her intent. One fan comment, now widely circulated and shared thousands of times, screams, "Stephanie White is the devil and is intentionally sabotaging her." This extreme accusation, while clearly inflammatory, encapsulates the raw, unfiltered anger and the deeply ingrained belief in malicious intent held by certain segments of the audience. Such comments, though certainly over-the-powerfully, highlight the deep emotional investment fans have in Clark's success, and their readiness to attribute any perceived setbacks, any struggles, to deliberate and nefarious actions by those in charge, intensifying this viral narrative of betrayal and sabotage surrounding the coach. Another point of contention that ignited fierce debate and really set people off was the subtle implication emanating from White's camp that Caitlin Clark, despite her unparalleled collegiate success and legendary status, still had aspects of her game requiring refinement or further work. The quoted fan comment, "How dare she imply that Caitlin Clark still have stuff to work on," perfectly illustrates this fierce defensiveness. For countless fans, Clark was already seen as a basketball savant, a generational talent who had nothing left to prove, and any suggestion of imperfection or a need for development was immediately interpreted as an insult, a subtle jab, or even a deliberate attempt to diminish her extraordinary talent, further fueling the narrative that White was actively attempting to undermine her Digging even deeper into White's past, critics eagerly resurfaced her coaching record at Vanderbilt, using it as further ammunition in their relentless attack. "Did you know she had a bad record at Vanderbilt?" One fan comment queried, attempting to discredit White's qualifications and decision-making by pointing to her previous struggles. This eager move to scrutinize historical performance underscores the almost obsessive lengths to which enraged fans will go to justify their criticism, linking past professional challenges to current controversies and reinforcing the perception of White as an unfit, even damaging, leader for the league's most prized asset, amplifying the already deafening calls for her accountability. The intensity of this fan backlash became so extreme that it even led to wildly exaggerated, almost satirical comments that, while not meant literally, certainly paint a vivid picture of the sheer emotional volatility. One such remark playfully, or perhaps not so playfully, asked, "If you play the video back where she actually says she hates Caitlin Clark and wants her to die, oh, are you secretly venom?" This hyperbolic statement, while clearly not to be taken literally, nevertheless underscores the sheer volume of negative sentiment directed at White, revealing just how deeply emotional and extreme the public reaction truly became. It paints a vivid picture of a fan base wrestling with intense, almost overwhelming feelings, often expressing them through these over-the-top, viral-ready pronouncements, cementing the narrative of savage, unrelenting opposition. And through all this, Liquid doesn't shy away from claiming a certain prescience in this unfolding drama. He confidently states, "I told y'all last year Stephanie White was up to no good." This assertion strategically positions him as an early warning system, someone who recognized the potential for negative outcomes long before the mainstream media, or indeed many fans, caught on. By framing himself as a prophet of this particular controversy, he further legitimizes his current, highly critical stance, reinforcing the idea that White's perceived detrimental impact on Clark and the league was not a sudden, unforeseen turn, but rather a predictable trajectory that he had already identified and explicitly called out, only deepening the sense of premeditated harm in the eyes of his audience. Now, amidst this absolute firestorm of criticism, reports have started to surface suggesting that Stephanie White is actually embarking on another media run. This is an action that, frankly, could either dramatically exacerbate the current tensions or, potentially, offer an opportunity to alleviate some of the outrage. The big question looming over everyone's minds is, will she address the swirling accusations head-on, directly confronting the fan fury? Or will her appearances inadvertently ignite even more controversy, perhaps through another misstep? The timing of this media push is absolutely critical, coinciding precisely with peak fan outrage, and it raises serious questions about its true intent and its potential repercussions. For many, this isn't just a routine press tour, it's a highly strategic move, loaded with profound implications for her reputation, for the team's dynamics, and for the entire future narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark. It's a move being scrutinized under the intense, unforgiving glare of public scrutiny, making every single word consequential. And the controversy, believe it or not, extends far beyond individual reputations. It's now touching the very financial backbone of the entire Liquid starkly connects White's alleged killing of the Clark hype directly to the ongoing collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, negotiations. He suggests, with a truly sobering tone, has Stephanie White not killed the Caitlin Clark hype? Y'all probably would have got some money. This places an immense financial burden squarely on White's perceived actions, implying that her coaching decisions and public comments could directly cost players significant earnings, transforming what might typically be a coaching critique into a high-stakes economic issue. This directly impacts the collective future and prosperity of every single athlete in the league, a truly savage economic implication that resonates deeply. This financial angle is particularly poignant, especially given the WNBA's historically precarious economic standing. As Liquid points out, with stark clarity, the WNBA was already in the red, guys. The league's existing financial challenges mean that the massive surge in popularity and media attention brought by Caitlin Clark was not just a bonus or a nice-to-have, it was a vital, even indispensable, lifeline. The perception that this lifeline is now being severed or weakened by internal mismanagement makes the criticisms of Stephanie White all the more potent and emotionally charged, framing her actions as not just damaging to a player, but potentially catastrophic to the league's overall financial stability and its long-term viability. It's a dire warning for all involved. Ultimately, according to this compelling narrative, the diminished hype directly translates to reduced leverage for players in their crucial quest for meaningful revenue sharing and better financial terms. But as of right now, y'all, Dana gotta take what y'all could get. Liquid laments, implying that the hard-won potential for substantial financial gains, a truly generational opportunity, has been tragically squandered. This means that the so-called savage comments attributed to Stephanie White and the subsequent explosive fan backlash aren't just about hurt feelings or perceived tactical errors. They carry tangible, severe economic consequences for every single player in the league, impacting their present earnings and their future financial security. It's a grim outlook for the WNBA's collective bargaining power. So what began as seemingly innocent, albeit perhaps ill-timed, remarks about a player's work ethic has rapidly escalated into a full-blown viral crisis, fueled by passionate, almost uncontainable fan outrage and amplified by critical, influential voices like Jonna Liquid. Stephanie White now finds herself at the absolute epicenter of a relentless storm, accused of everything from fundamental tactical missteps on the court to intentionally sabotaging the sport's biggest star and perhaps most gravely, potentially jeopardizing the WNBA's hard-fought financial future. The true long-term cost of these savage comments might not just be a coach's reputation or a few lost games, but rather a defining pivotal moment for women's basketball itself, leaving us all to wonder if the league can truly recover from such intense internal strife and navigate this incredibly turbulent period.